They were incarcerated for a significant part of their life.
But the true captive mind is yours. This is a podcast about the human side of the people our society demonizes.
Welcome to Captive Audience, a free podcast.
You can say Shaun if you want to call me Shaun. Yeah, it's a thousand Shauns in the world. It's millions of them.
Okay, hey Shaun, tell us about where you grew up in.
I grew up in Southern California, born in Los Angeles, African-American mom, African-American father. I would say pretty standard as far as culture. Nothing different. From the Los Angeles area, we ended up moving to Riverside County. So I guess that was a little bit of a duality there, coming out of LA, which was a more urban environment, and then coming to Riverside County, which was very diverse at the time. Now it's not as diverse as it was when I was growing up. So that probably gave me an interesting look on life, society, capitalism, race, culture, etc. at a young age. Yeah.
Did you feel safe?
Yeah, I've always felt safe wherever I lived. I don't think that most people as children, suspending abuse, of course, but just in like a regular environment, you can grow up poor and not realize you're poor until you get older, as long as your house is surrounded by love. So I was blessed to be surrounded by love. Most definitely felt safe as a kid.
What do you think of when you thought of the future? How did you envision yourself as?
Honestly, I would say just how I am right now today, honestly. Just a chill person. I perceive myself to be pretty adept in whatever it is that I choose to do. I have a strong will, attention to detail. I consider myself a type A personality. So those are, I'm okay with that. I think I was okay with that as a child as well. Maybe I thought I would have had more money by now, but other than that's it.
What did you want to be when you were
an entrepreneur? Probably just have my own businesses, which I'm trying to do still to this day. Incarceration got in the way of that, but yeah, just an entrepreneur. I never was really into the entertainment industry or things like that. I'm very consistent in my personalities as a child. I think I was always somebody who valued my freedom and my autonomy.
So you mentioned that your family, you were surrounded by love when you were growing up.
Most definitely.
Did you feel like something was missing ever?
No.
And what do you think led up to your incarceration? What, like 3 aspects that you can pinpoint?
3 aspects? I would say for me, it's just one aspect is trying to figure out how to get capital to start your own business and to sustain your lifestyle in a way that I think is appropriate, right? Where everybody has their own personal standards of life, and I think my personal standards, once again, even as a child, I always value freedom. A lot of things didn't make sense to me growing up. Even today, they don't make sense. Just how people work, right? People value time more than quality. I would call them value propositions. I believe that their value propositions are different than mine. I believe in quality, I believe in freedom, and I believe in adding value. Whether that value takes 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, or 2 hours. I'm all about maximizing the output and getting the best results possible. Not really a particular process. So I guess we can go back to Henry Ford and the start of the Industrial Revolution and the warehouses and, all the studies they did to maximize productivity. We still work like that to this day, 8 hours a day, 40-hour work week. And those things don't make sense to me now, and they didn't make sense to me then.
But would you change anything in your community if you could?
Yeah, most definitely. Education. That's what I would change. There's a lot of different ways how I would change it. I would say I would encourage people to learn themselves first before they learn about somebody else. Learn about their views and beliefs in the way of inductive reasoning, right? Meaning that they explore, come to their own conclusions or hypotheses, and then test them and see if they're accurate and valid in the world as it relates to their own personal experience. I think education, the way it's set up today, it creates unnecessary barriers and obstacles, and unfortunately, it creates a permanent lower and middle class because everybody just don't learn the same. They don't have the same interests, right? So a lot of people, they can go through school and be unsuccessful, but they're probably geniuses They just never had the proper environment and the proper ingredients to unlock their true potential. So for that reason alone, that's one of many reasons why I'm not a proponent of traditional education. I think education should be something that's customized. You're not me and I'm not you. We're going to learn differently. We're going to have different interests, and we have a different purpose in life, and that's okay.
Do you feel there was anything that you needed to work within yourself before being incarcerated?
Before incarceration, or I would say before incarceration, I wasn't as self-aware as I am now. So the pre-incarceration Shaun probably would have gave a lot of superficial answers. So, I don't really, I wasn't thinking like that, at the time. Once again, I was just thinking about how to make money, how to get money, and how to be free and not be a slave.
How did that progress as you were incarcerated and then afterwards?
Well, I think incarceration for me, it forced me to pause, of course, right? You're sitting somewhere by yourself for long periods of time. But it also gave me a shift in perspective in what I valued as what's most important. When you're separated from your friends and family, from love and those things, hugs, right? You start to look at those things differently because you probably took it for, well, at least I took it for granted. And not even saying I took it for granted, they just were so permanent or cemented in my life, I didn't consider them once they were taken away from me. So I think for me, after incarceration and during incarceration, I definitely started to value my relationships and people more.
What is something you're proud of that happened like before incarceration?
My life in general. I didn't have those type of issues or thought processes growing up. I've always been like good in school, even though I didn't always want to go. So like even as a kid, I was in gate classes and the honor roll. I was always pretty social. As a kid, I had like girlfriends and things. Things that I was important to a young kid, a young boy. When I was growing up, I kind of, I had those things. I was kind of athletic a little bit, so I could move around. So I was always pretty cool as a kid. I was a real chill kid, and I guess I was just living. Yeah, most definitely. I definitely was proud of my younger self.
So how did you connect with people when you were incarcerated?
Well, I think inside a prison, you connect through shared experience, right? It's nothing like shared experiences that bring people together, right? Because they can resonate and they can have that reference to lean on and draw from and speak about, talk about, connect to, and build off of. So yeah, in prison it just was a shared reference, and also you can connect, and I connected as well off of my vision and my particular ideals of what I thought life looked like or what I thought life should be. And then I had intellectual connections as well. I'm a reader. I enjoy to read. I enjoy to learn, explore, and live inside of ideas and see how those things manifest. I'm into like health and fitness. So it was pretty multiple ways to connect with people, but I did connect with people in there.
What were some of the challenges that you face, legal challenges?
Legal challenges? I mean, I face a lot of legal challenges. The government, right? I don't know if I could ever explain what it's like to sit down and look at some paperwork. That's so much of an exaggerated or distorted perception of you. You're looking at this paperwork, whether it's news articles or they have something called a discovery, like your police report, right? And you look at this and you see these things are shaped by somebody else's opinions or perceptions of your life. And I think that's a challenge to go through that process. I went through a very unique process. I've been through the process. I've been falsely accused. I've been to trial. I've won, of course. I was falsely accused. So just going through and I guess grappling with the perceptions of others versus your own perception of yourself and making sense of that, I would say that's a psychological challenge in prison. For me, that was the biggest challenge I had in prison was grappling with the psychological power of the system. For one thing, I think that made me do in detail was kind of regress and reanalyze my own personal self-perception, right? Growing up as a African-American kid, culture is strong, right? A lot of us want to be drug dealers, hustlers, rappers, have a lot of women, nice cars. The music, the culture. I think it's pretty common. Basketball players, football players, and I think sitting inside of those situations and reading certain things that I read about myself and other people, I realized that it was a mismatch, right? And it's like, I was almost miscast by the world, and I think that, and unfortunately, myself is included in so many, especially young black men and young black children who never get the opportunity to be themselves because they're forced inside this culture.
What is something that you believe needs to change in the prison system?
Oh man, I think all of it needs to change, right? Well, like if we're not gonna abolish it, right? Let's just talk about prison reform. The process in which you go to court. First of all, from the county jail, right? What they do is they psychologically distort you, they fatigue you, they keep the lights on all day, they separate you, they charge you $1, $2 for 25-cent soups. They disturb you all day, and a lot of people. And when you're in the county jail, there's a lot of guys in there, women in there as well, that they're fighting like the biggest fight of their life. They're being accused by the United States government in some way, shape, or form. And a lot of times, what they're being accused of might not be accurate. Whether they're all the way right or whether they're all the way wrong. It's very few cases that are 100% accurate, right? And people need the space and the time and to be able to think and maneuver themselves out that situation. Number two, the legal system. The legal system is rhetorical, it's slanted to where nothing is really true, right? The legal system is based off of perception, unfortunately, right? There are always loopholes if you're good at oratory, if you got good oratorical skills. You can effortlessly evade the law. You have the psychological perception of TV, media, especially for people that are not black. People that are not black have a very difficult time to believe the police, right? Most people are taught to believe the police. They're taught that the police is right, and they taught that the police will never do any wrong. So I think as a black African American, that's not the truth of my community at all. Like, we don't have a lot of faith in the police, and I think rightfully so, as somebody that's been falsely accused. So I would change that, right? I also would change the jury. I think recently now you can serve as a jury, but we need to be judged. If we're going to be judged, and if the system is going to stay the same, then we need more people who understand our culture and our traditions and how we behave and what happens in our communities on the jury. Because what happens then, they can decipher some of those poetic stories that the district attorneys make about people inside those courtrooms every day, and they're just not true. What else? I can keep going. There's a lot I can change. Yeah, I definitely would change how they treat you in prison for forcing you to work. One of the conflicts I did have in prison is I didn't like to work, right? Because to me, it didn't make any sense to work for my oppressor.
What do you mean forcing you to work?
Yeah, well, once you convicted of a felony and you sent to prison, they give you a job assignment, and if you don't fulfill that job assignment, then you're punished in numerous ways. You may lose program, you may get more time on your sentence. When I say lose program, I mean lose access to the little bit of freedoms and liberties that you may have inside the prison. You will lose access to those, lose access to phone calls. There's a lot of different things they can do when they force you to work. But it makes no sense if you're telling me I'm in prison because I'm wrong or because I'm incorrigible, violent, dangerous, a predator, deviant, etc. Right? Then that time in prison I should be spending to work on myself and learn myself and figure out how to be the best person, and not for myself, for the community in which I return to, for my family, for my neighbors, and even for the government, for the economy. Right? So I can learn how to pay some taxes and get a sustainable job and figure out how to navigate myself out of this situation. But instead, that's not what happened. What happens is people go to prison and they're forced to push mops, sweep floors all day, or do meaningless things that have no meaning, and they learn no true skills, especially as technology advances at the rate and intensity that it's advancing. People are coming home from prison inequipped to do anything, and we see it. I see it a lot, even in some of my peers and friends. I see it, right? I got friends who they can't get a job. They won't get a job, and not because they don't want one. They're just not equipped to have a job. So yeah, prison robs you of those things, and they say that it's rehabilitation, but it's really not. There's only a small percentage of men that go to prison and get better, and unfortunately it's designed that way. And see, that's what a lot of people don't realize. If they're not really in the system and they don't understand the system, people think prison makes you better, but really it makes you worse, and it's designed to make you worse.
What is something you're proud of while you were inside?
I guess the way that I conducted myself and did my time. My personal opinion of myself is that I've never got worse a day in my life. Every day I get better, and prison was no different for me. I was able to read a ton of books on philosophy, physics, neuroscience, you name it, and if I get my hands on it, I would read it. Textbooks, critical thinking. I probably got a whole undocumented master's degree or PhD while I was in prison. So I would say I'm proud of that. I definitely utilized my time, and I didn't waste it watching TV or playing spades or just looking at a chessboard.
Have you thought about pursuing a master's?
No, I probably would never pursue it. I did go to school when I first came home from prison, and I got stellar grades. So I do have college under my belt. But no, I think I may have enough credits for an A degree. I just didn't care to apply for it. I probably got more than enough credits to get an A right now. I just really don't. I don't care because I don't see the benefit of it. I don't see the benefit of it and what they teach. However, I'm not going to say I don't see the benefit of school, because I think some people should go to school if they want to learn a particular subject, if they want to be a doctor or engineer. Certain things have procedures and protocols that you need to learn if you want to operate in that field amongst your peers. But for general individuals such as myself, I don't think that school is necessary. What I think is necessary is a desire to learn. Like I say, so when I'm learning something, I definitely want to be able to construct and design my own life based off of my own thoughts, perceptions, aptitudes, and intelligences, not off of someone else's. And I think that in school, like, you see that. Even at times, sometimes when you work or when you deal, even my friends, all my friends have high degrees. All my friends have high, at least a BA. Most of my friends have at least at the minimum a BA. And, having conversations with them and the way that they think and piece things together is very structured. A lot of times it lacks creativity and it lacks originality. A lot of people just repeat things and they never really go into a deep critical analysis of what's really happening and what's going on. And unfortunately, you see that more and more with people who go to school. So while I'm not against school, I definitely think school has a benefit, learning anything, especially learning how to critical think, look at information, analyze and evaluate the information, come to a conclusion and comprehend that information. I think it's valuable, but I'm not sure that you need school for that.
How was your re-entry process like?
It was easy for me because I just think I prepared myself for it. I'm not going to say I didn't have any challenges, but I think we all have challenges. You don't have to go to prison to have a challenge, right? So for me, I don't approach the world as somebody who's been in prison, even though I know that I have been in prison and people may perceive me a certain way. It's not something I hide from, but it's not something I lead with, right? I have many other skills and attributes that I can lead with versus my prison experience. So that was my recipe for my own personal success. Analyze the environment, maximize myself, maximize my environment, be a good person, create good relationships, add value to the people in my life. And that has served me well.
Thank you for listening to Captive Audience, a free podcast.
Hosted by Margot Cohen
and Dana Villaseñor. I would like to thank our guests as well as the Gould Center for Humanistic Studies at Claremont McKenna College. And remember, challenge your apathy.